Welcome to the Lead Gen Leaders Podcast, connecting you to the leading minds in home improvement to discuss all things marketing and leadership. And now, your host, Kyle Powers.
Welcome to the Lead Gen Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Powers. I'm very excited for today's guest. He has spent a long time in the home improvement business, starting out as a salesman, moving on to sales management, and then into sales consulting. And in 2009, he took a leap of faith and started his own home improvement company. The topics we are going to discuss today are very near and dear to my heart, as I was able to be a part of most of them along with him. I would like to welcome to the show my friend, a mentor of mine, and the owner of Tundraland Home Improvements, Brian Gottlieb. Hello, Brian.
Hey, Kyle, how are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Doing terrific. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. Hey, really excited to have you on the show today to talk about something that, frankly, I was a part of, the rise of your business, Tundraland, and what it's come to be, and I'm very proud of that fact. And so I've been wanting to get you on the show for a while to talk about something that I think you've done, very, very well, which is, culture. We always get the question, hey, how do you create culture? And I think you've done an awesome job at creating a really great culture. But on top of that, what that means for actual marketing, lead generation, owning your marketplace, and then even tying that into your success through the pandemic here and how that's helped you out. So again, thank you so much for being on the show. Excited to have you.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Great topic, by the way. Super important topic.
Absolutely. So for the listeners that may not know who you are, maybe a little background on yourself in the industry, as well as, kind of the start of Tundraland and how that started.
Sure. So, like a lot of people listening to this podcast right now, I started the business. It was just me and the company. But, even prior to me starting this business, I used to be a sales guy for other home improvement companies and worked my way up to sales management. And I kind of just got tired of building other people's businesses, and I wanted to build my own business. However, I didn't have the money to build this monster business. So I started this business in 2009 in the back of a friend's warehouse on a plastic folding table with $3,000 in cash. Now, you might say, well, 2009 probably wasn't the best year to start a business. In hindsight, it was a great year to start a business because what it did is it gave the business certain disciplines that have carried with us today. And that $3,000, it needed to work because there wasn't a whole lot more money beyond that to make things happen. And it's amazing to think of today we have 275 employees and it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially in 2009 with the financial crisis, I mean, the first product that you started with was sunrooms, correct?
Yeah, the first product were sunrooms, and I remember first sale I made, and it took a little while to get that first sale. And I'm sitting at this fella's kitchen table trying to sell him a sunroom, and I'm thinking to myself, if this guy buys a sunroom, I'm going to stay in business, and if he doesn't, I'm probably not. you just never know the things that make differences. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so from there, starting, on the folding table, I mean, I can just even remember back to some of the stories, the first home show and maybe misplacing some leads driving down the highway and having to scramble to get them and stuff. And so I think for the listeners, going back to, a business that started in this dream that you had, this vision that you saw that really attracted me to come, work for you, as well as many others, because you saw this grand vision of what Tundraland could become. And you came out very early on when I started working for you about 6.5 years ago, this philosophy of do well and do good. And that really is your guys' motto. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's the mission statement of the business is to do well and do good. And what that means is, it's our belief that a business's responsibility is to make a decent profit decently. So, and I think, and you do that by how do you take great care of your employees, of your customers, and of your community. And when you do, I think, all those things together, then the people that are part of the journey, the team members inside of Tundraland, it becomes more than just a job. It becomes a journey that's really memorable.
And the employees absolutely got to be, and get to be continuously a part of, some things that turned into really big, cause marketing type programs, things like Bath for the Brave. Could you explain what Bath for the Brave is?
Yeah. So we learned early on, because our business consists of replacement windows. We do decks, we do walk-in tubs, and a whole lot of bath remodeling. And early on we started seeing that the people that need a bathroom, and there are really sad stories out there where people that are simply afraid to take a bath or a shower in their own home. And we saw many veterans where they've served our country proudly, and they wake up every day afraid to go in their own bathroom. And we as an organization found that simply unacceptable. And a lot of people just simply don't have the money to make their bathroom safe. And people deserve to have the dignity of having to care for themselves in their own bathroom. So we started early on to say, how do we really make a difference here? The first veteran that we did a free bath for, his name was Mike Alstein, and he was a Iraqi war veteran who did 2 tours in Iraq, came home from Iraq, and was diagnosed with MS. And like in a moment, he found himself in a wheelchair. So we heard about his story, and working with his mom, we actually had him enter a fake sweepstakes for a tour of Lambeau Field. And since it was a fake sweepstakes, surprise, he won. So he won a trip to Lambeau Field, and he left his home around 11 a.m. and took a tour of Lambeau Field. And then in the evening, we took him out to a Gamblers game, which is a hockey game here in Green Bay. And he had a big room there with friends waiting for him. He had a great time. And we wheeled him out on the ice to thank him for his service. And we pointed to the Jumbotron that showed him that when he left his home at 11 a.m., our guys went into his home. They snuck into his home, and we totally crashed his bathroom and created a handicapped accessible bath for him. And it was just something that everybody inside of our organization connected with. And we knew that this is something that we can truly make as part of our business and part of a point of differentiation that can actually really, really help develop the culture of the business. Really cool.
And so that was one of the very first, early ones that you did just by yourself as a company and a team. And could you maybe explain what Bass for the Brave has turned into now today, a handful of years down the road?
Yeah, super cool. What's amazing is there are so many like-minded companies out there that know that, a lot of us, we know how to do well is we know how to work with our hands. And there are plenty of companies that want to make a difference with the things that they do well, like working with their hands. So we put this out to some friends of mine across the country, many of those who you work with, Kyle, some really big companies, like-minded companies. And we said, how do we do something really, really big? So what we did is we formulated this program called Bass for the Brave. And what it is that just in time for Veterans Day, what we do is we surprise a veteran with a free bath project. We crash a veteran's bathroom. But we don't just do it here in Wisconsin. Last year, just in time for Veterans Day, it actually took place in 14 different states. So different companies, we all participate in Baths for the Brave, and the same time, the same day, everybody crashes a veteran's bath all at the same time. And the media shows up, the community shows up. We've had the fire department showing up, we've had the police department showing up. It just turns into a real community event, and it's something that everybody's really proud of. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, for the listeners, really hearing that story is, you don't have to have this big, great, grand scheme to get started. It can just start with very simply, a one-off small little thing. And over the years, you can grow it or even keep it small. And I want to talk about on those parts of that, Brian, at what that does, for the culture of the team and the team members and how they get a part of that. But also, there was a few other programs that you have done along those lines, like Windows for a Cause. And so I'd like to talk about that one first a little bit, just so they can get an idea of, a couple of the different programs that really, to be a team member and to be part of those, to be around the community and be involved in these things like I was, it just made me proud to want to go to work and to be part of that. And so maybe talk about Windows for a Cause, kind of how that started and what it ended up morphing into.
Yeah, sure will. So look, we do a lot of windows. We put a lot of windows in people's homes, and you can imagine how many. When you go into somebody's home and you're putting in new windows, you're taking the old windows out and you're throwing them in the dumpster. And I would start to see our dumpster getting emptied like every day, and it was a shame because there's all these old window sashes that were just being thrown away. So we decided how do we repurpose these old window frames? So we started working with local artists, community members, sports organizations, the Green Bay Packers, the Milwaukee Brewers, and we had people turn old windows into beautiful pieces of art. And then once a year, we would display all these art pieces and do a giant silent auction and invite the whole community to it. And all the money raised, 100% of the money raised, would go to make a positive impact in the life of another individual. As you remember, Kyle, the very first year we did this, the recipient was a fellow that has been a Vietnam-era war veteran who was stuck in a wheelchair for over 40 years. We raised enough money from Windows for a Cause to get him a custom wheelchair that stands up. And this guy can stand up for the first time in 40 years off of windows that would normally go in the trash. And I know you remember that day as well as anybody. It was an amazing experience.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. It was really amazing. I mean, just the amount of tears too later on. What these programs do of tying the community together and the multiple news stories that they generate. And I can remember the interview for him where he said, for the first time in that 40 years, he was able to come up to his wife's, level and look his wife in the eyes instead of her coming down. So that was, that was pretty cool to be a part of that. And then, we sent some kids on their Make-A-Wish trips. You've done quite a few of those with Windows for a Cause. And what I always liked most about those is that it wasn't necessarily even just the team. I mean, of course, most of the team got involved with it, whether it was sales, marketing, production, office staff, anything like that. They all got involved, but the amount of community members that would get involved, I mean, all the news stations did it, our affiliates that you had at the time with the professional sports teams in the area that, painted windows and, even, professional sports athletes coming in, your showroom to paint windows with that little Delilah. I remember her, and her Make-A-Wish and getting, the windows painted with the Packer players and stuff like that. I mean, it was, a really, really, really cool thing that not only the whole company, but the community gets behind, and, what that does for you as a brand. I mean, you really can't go anywhere in your marketplace without a person at least knowing who you are.
Right. Well, it's really cool. And I think also customers like to know, they like to know that they're doing business with a company that actually gives back to their community. I think it's really important. Look, we go into a home and we can explain to Mr. and Mrs. Jones that, hey, when we pull out your windows from your home, we're not going to just simply throw them away. They're actually going to make a positive impact in somebody's life. And I think people really like that, and it's also the right thing to do, and that's what's so cool about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the listeners, if you go on YouTube, you can search Tundraland. There's some videos on there. There's a company story video that we did early on when I was there that I think really hits on a lot of those points about what you mean in the community and what the workers and the culture that you created really is. So again, very happy to be a part of your company in the past there and those type of things that we did. So, okay. So moving on from those two types of cause marketing and kind of the culture they create, what does that mean, for your team members? One for, hiring new team members, but two for, longevity and keeping people, happy. Because as I always say, if you wake up every day miserable to go to your job, what are you doing? You got to change something. And,
sure.
And I know so many people that wake up every day and say they get to go to work when they come to work with you.
Right. I think that the idea of culture as a point of differentiation, and when we say culture, we're talking about how do we prove our culture and our how do we prove our mission statement of do well and do good. People want to feel like people want to be connected to the why of a business, and they want to know that they're working for an organization that does well. And so what it does, number one, for retention, people really want to be a part of a journey like this because they realize it's not transactional. It's not, let me sell you a window, let me sell you a bathroom, let me get paid. It's, wow, we can together, we can accomplish, 1 + 1 can equal 5. It doesn't have to equal 2. And that's where I think and I also believe that there's a lot to be said for being more than just a home improvement company, but instead to be a brand that's woven into the fabric of a community. And because when you do that, all of your marketing works a whole lot better.
Yeah, and the ability to be able to market in a lot of places that traditionally wouldn't have, for instance, like a face-to-face marketer, simply because of that kind of charitable arm of the business, which we all kind of called Tundraland Cares. I mean, that really opened up the door a lot for you to be in a lot of places that traditionally wouldn't allow, home improvement companies or any type of, marketers, like we would have.
Right. You certainly were quite instrumental in helping us grow our business significantly. And by getting into places that, to your point, would normally not let a home improvement company in there. But because we do so much good in the community, we can then come in as a sponsor. And before you know it, once again, you're really part of the community. And that's a big deal.
Absolutely. And so when that comes back then, going on of hiring somebody, because a lot of times, the positions that you're hiring for, especially on the front end of the business, marketing, call center, sales, a lot of times the people that are coming into those roles and interviewing for them, it's their first time ever doing something like that. And so to be able to have these type of cultures and that company story to really make someone feel, okay, I'm going to go to work for, 100% commission, or the bulk of my pay is going to be bonus based, it really, and as being a manager and a leader in your business, it just helped me tremendously be able to, onboard new hires and things like that, because they like you said, they got behind it and believed that it was something more than just a paycheck and just a transactional, relationship there. With that. So one other thing, because of all of that and the culture, that you brought, not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. I saw recently on social media that you won your not first, not second, not third, but 4th year in the row Best Place to Work in Wisconsin award.
Yeah, #1 best place in Wisconsin to work. Isn't that amazing?
That is absolutely amazing. So again, not one, not twice, but 4 years in a row. And I, for a story to tell people, the biggest question I get asked at just about any conference I speak at or go to, or, working with clients is, hey, how do you recruit people? Well, how about create a business where people want to come? And I think you've done a great job at doing that. And everyone's got their own little niche, how they do that or try to do that. But to really think, grand scale and really keep moving and up leveling. And as you get those better people, they can help you keep, growing that business and everything. So let's kind of tie that back now. So you're able to get
Sure.
great talent because you got a great place to work. And so when you get the great talent, that means obviously they should work better than the average person. So what does that kind of mean for you lead generation wise, through the years, and more importantly, tying it up, what did that culture and that business that you created mean for you during the last, 5 or 6 months of this, pandemic?
Yeah. I think that if you think about, let's say you're taking a walk around the block and, you're going for a walk and you walk by your neighbor's house and all of a sudden there's a dog in the front yard that starts barking. Woof, woof, woof. Scares the heck out of you the first time that dog barks at you. You're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know they had a dog. And maybe the second day it barks again and it scares you again. But, after a while, if that dog keeps barking at you, before you know it, it's like, well, there's the barking dog and you don't even pay attention to it. And basic marketing, direct response marketing, hey, we have the biggest sale of the year. We have the best sale of the year right now. That's like a lot of barking. And after a while, people don't hear the barking. And what cause marketing does is it creates conversation in between the barking. And I'm not saying you don't advertise with specials and discounts. I'm a big believer in it. But I think you also have to balance it with having conversations with the community, because what it does is it helps the barking work a whole lot better. And that's where the both of them work together. Again, people have choices. People make decisions. They, about where they want to spend their money. And I think that people want to spend their money with companies that they want to do business with, that because they like them, because they trust them, because, oh my gosh, they do good stuff, and that's a company that we want to do business with.
Yeah, that's a great point. What are maybe some other points that you might have for maybe some of the listeners that have, very small company, maybe just a couple marketers, and they're looking at maybe getting into doing some, cause marketing or tying themselves into the community. What might you recommend to them as just some kind of first, steps to take?
Right. Unfortunately, there's no lack of need in any community across the country with people that really need the products and services that we offer. And I think you can start small. You can just simply start by doing a free project for somebody, or doing a significantly discounted project for somebody, and but not just keeping it sheltered to yourself. Don't be afraid to talk about it. We're not afraid to talk about it publicly, not for the praise, but we believe it's a way to change the conversation on how a home improvement company can truly interact with the community. So I think you can start really easy and really small, and grow from there. But and by the way, don't be afraid to talk to new hires about it, because for me, if we're hiring somebody new, they have to get jazzed up about this kind of stuff, or they're probably not a good culture fit. Because if you say, what is our true point of differentiation? Products come and go in every single business out there. Culture can truly be a point of differentiation. We have a saying in our business that if you want to copy our performance, you first have to copy what goes on inside of our people's heads, and that's culture. And so how do you there are plenty of companies out there, and a lot of people think they have a good culture. I think it's important to think about, how do you inspect your culture? And the way to inspect a culture is, first of all, how do you hire people? How do you fire people? How do you promote people? And how do you compensate people? Because when you start looking at hiring, firing, promotions, and compensation, that kind of tells you what the culture is. And I think if you do those things honorably, then people are going to want to follow you, and that's going to be a great business.
Absolutely. And I think one of the, the coolest things that I didn't necessarily get when I first worked for you, and I definitely got it, through the years and really embraced it, was, especially when we started getting towards, 150 plus, employees, a lot of different people, is necessarily the position they were hired for wasn't necessarily a good fit for a lot of people. And so instead of just, coaching them out and getting rid of them, it was really having those types of conversations of, well, what might be a good fit for them. And the multiple stories of people that now hold, almost executive level positions in your company that maybe at a lot of companies may have not have made it past their first role because it wasn't the one best suited for them. But really giving people the opportunity to find that seat on the bus and really shine. It was just awesome to see the multiple stories of people that have just kind of, wiggled through the organization and the different roles, eventually getting in the one that they really shined in. And I think that's truly what's made Tundraland is really giving the people the ability to be, who they want to be and not fit this certain role, and grab a hold of that do well, do good attitude, all encompassing that to, really create a fantastic company, a fantastic sales team, and a marketing team, that's really, second to none. So,
well, and Kyle, by the way, that's one of the things that really, if I think about what is Kyle, the best in the universe at, it's truly developing people. It's also understanding, how to get the best out of people. I mean, you were so freaking terrific at it. You still are today. It's a big deal, and you too realize that maybe they're not in the right seat on the bus, but we want them on the bus. We just got to figure out what the right seat is. Really important.
Absolutely, I appreciate that. And so kind of getting towards the end of the show here, but I want to finish up before we get into the last segment of Power's Powerful Points is really talking what that's meant, through this pandemic era, where a lot of, companies have either closed down or have, very hindered, on operations, while others are doing really good. But from what I understand, you guys are doing fantastic through it. And what does that kind of look like for you guys with the, the culture that you created?
Yeah. Right. Clearly, when, early March, nobody knew where the bottom of this was going to be when COVID first hit, and home shows were closing down, and Sam's Clubs and all the typical face-to-face marketing that we would do that represented a large part of our business that time of the year. But, because we have such an amazing team, I mean, I'm so proud of our team that, we were able to start working remotely really quickly, working together as a team. And people really rolled up their sleeves, and because they knew it wasn't just about selling windows and baths. It was about, how do we continue to be relevant and stay together as a team and support each other. And that means having honest dialogues, being available to people, being a good communicator. And I think from a customer aspect, I think early on, I think even today it's true. I don't think customers want to have 10 companies coming into their home to give them an estimate. They want one company that they trust, and that's where all that equity we built up from cause marketing over the years has really paid off, significantly in what we can call now a post-COVID world. So it's really come back in a big way. It's been terrific. I'm super proud of our team. They continue to surprise me, and I'm just really proud.
Yeah, I mean, and the ability for face-to-face marketers to switch to calling from their house when they've never been on a phone before, because at that time that's all that was available. Everything was shut down. To then coming back and getting started back into a hybrid role of face-to-face marketing, somewhat canvassing, somewhat the few little events in retail that there may be. As I still talk to some of the leaders, and just the shifts that they made to continue to provide that do good, do well, atmosphere, and, generate leads that have turned into sales. And from all accounts, this should definitely be one of your best years. So,
Yeah, no doubt.
Happy to hear that.
It's been a fun ride.
So, coming to the last point then, Brian, Power's Powerful Point. What powerful point do you have for the listeners today?
Sure. So if you're listening to this, you're obviously involved in a business, and maybe you're the one that's responsible for building the business. And if you think about building a business, I want you to think about like you're building a ship, and you want to build a giant ship. You want to build a giant ship to sail across the mighty ocean. Don't just simply hire people and teach them how to swing a hammer. The first thing is you want to get people to yearn for the open sea. And the more people yearn for the open sea, the more empowered they are to build a more magnificent ship than you could ever imagine. By tapping into the creative spirit of other individuals around you and getting the best of people, it becomes more rewarding for everyone. And I think at the end of the day, it's about igniting the heart and the spirit of individuals. And we do that. That's how you create a limitless business.
Absolutely, and that's a fantastic point. Thank you so much, Brian, for being on the show today, and I look forward to bringing you on a future episode. There's so many different things in my 5 years that I was with you that we could talk about and get really good information on. So again, thanks so much, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you too, Kyle. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Lead Gen Leaders Podcast. For a free consultation on how Tony Hoty Training and Consulting can assist with your home remodeling business, please visit TonyHoty.com. That's TonyHoty.com. Thank you for listening.